Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. Well, I see some people showed up because like 2 minutes ago there was only Shari in here. So Shari D is in, Burgos, Skyness, and that's it. It was kind of a quiet night I think we're going to have. I did get the notification up a little bit late, but I don't think that completely explains it. So I don't know what's up. People are busy. Austin 108 is in. Woohoo! Okay, so where am I here? Somewhere along the line, this week I just noticed that Lincoln looks really low on here. I mean, has it always been this Mount Rushmore? Okay, so I remember some people saying last time we looked at Rushmore, hey, look, Lincoln's really low, but I don't know. It seems like it's gotten worse or something. So what I remember not too long ago was the two on the right were low. Lincoln was a little bit low, but now it's only Lincoln that's low. That's what looks kind of strange to me. Washington, I think, keeps turning away. He's like peeling out. These things are just so weird. It's like they just keep shifting around in the mountains. So Lincoln or Washington looks way out, but I just don't remember Lincoln being really low by himself. I thought his neighbor was also low. And then I look at other photos and he doesn't look that low. So that confuses me. Okay, he looks low there, but he doesn't look that much lower than Washington there. Um okay, it's not that weird, but over here, he looks like he's the same height as his neighbor. So it's just, I don't know. Something's a little weird. There was actually one photo in here that I had seen that I just remembered. Now I can't, oh, there it is. This one, I thought that you could see Lincoln more. That's what clued me in. I just remember you can't really see that Lincoln's here right now. It just looks like kind of a Scrabble in the mountain. And I do remember picking this out as being Lincoln. So that's what confused me here. Oh, there's this, what's this up here too? There's like this weird, this wasn't up there either. It looks like someone laid a mat down up there. And this looks a little different too, right here. There was something like this up here, but it wasn't this exact one. It was a fence, but it was clearly fenciferous. This looks more like, I don't know what. Yeah, so there's something going on up here too. So there have been some changes, I think, in Rushmore. Nothing super major, but it just seems like Lincoln is really low by himself. I just don't remember. I don't think I saw anything super obvious in the rest. Uh, this this is the Great Pyramids. It's the Giza pyramids here. This area keeps getting bigger, and these look smaller. That's probably not real new, though. I didn't really see anything in there. So yeah, that's about it for those, unless anybody else has something to add. Rushmore rock stars. Yeah, I don't know. But Lincoln and that gun thing by the side of his head, I'm still not. I still can't find anything on that. 3 a.m. in New York. Well, it is late for a lot of you, so I'm not. Sometimes it works out because I think if everybody came, if I was at like 9 and more people came, it would be very hard for me to keep up with the chat. So it kind of works out. Recall Vector has been very busy lately. Busy like what, with Mandelas? I mean, if I had to make a separate show for every Mandela, I'd be pretty busy too. YouTube notifications have been weird. Okay, could be it, but I kind of assume they suck. Astrological energies popping off. Yes, Lincoln got the COVID and he has to sit by himself 6 feet away. Nothing is truly carved in stone. Good point. Yeah, I probably should check Liberty. I was thinking that earlier and then I didn't do it, so I guess I'll do it. I guess there's a preview of what's coming later. If there's any images we can't find from any angles, then that's probably where the Mandelas are happening. Wait, what's this? What's this? Is that's not actually the statue, is it? I think that's a copy. Yeah, that's not the real one. Okay. Because I was going to say, I don't remember gold highlighting on the tablet, but I don't, this is not the pedestal either. Yeah, this is the real pedestal here. Okay, so no gold highlighting. Eyes are still blanked out. That's not the real one, I don't think. So, look, all those trees behind, so no. Not helpful. I don't, let me go, let me know if you see anything, because Recall Vector did a new video about changes on Liberty statue. Is it anything really new? Because I've done like 10 of those. Right side of face and chin. Okay, let's see if there's anything new here. Well, I think I said it last time. The pedestal is getting really big. I mean, this has been a slow shift for quite some time, bit by bit. But I really remember, and I think one of the things, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before last time, but I think it's one of these levels has been added in recently. These center levels. So what I think was before was there was this bottom thing, and then the bottom thing got bigger and got all these doors. Looks like there's a double door over here too. That's interesting. That wasn't like that before with the cutout and then the door down there. It used to be just, they're getting more complicated, these cutouts. Look at that. That was not like that. And then there was like one of these little pancake layers in here. And now there's two of them. And then the pedestal. I also think that something got added in here. It might be this. These circle things. Something is different about this bottom part. And I think it's added on more stuff over here. What's going on with this? So yeah, this fake one here. I don't remember this being like a half like this. What is the even plan here? So this was just, the cross pieces came down. It wasn't this long, but there was no half facade here. This is weird. I also don't remember this door being visible here, but that could be an angle thing. You can really see that foot out there. Okay, what else we got here? Eyes still all blanked out. That's been true for a while. Would you say the chin and what was the other thing that changed? Something from Dietary. Well, it kind of has for a while, but... So lots of people come in. Hello. There's also a curl in her face, too, that was not there for me. A curl in her face. Okay, let's look for that first. Curl. Okay, I'm not sure I can see it on here. I was up for 36 hours between Sunday and Monday for no reason other person Scarab chat had. Let's see. So what happened for me was that I got $5. Thank you. Who was it? Unimatrix 001. Watch out for those Borg. They have all the money. I know I ran into somebody I knew in chat that we don't run into each other that much, and I ended up yapping like all night, and so I ended up staying up all night. Now, it's not that weird because I often stay up between. It's really bad lately, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. So staying up all night is actually not that hard because it only involves like a couple more hours, and I did do that, but I usually go to bed a little earlier. Um, and that kind of threw my schedule off, but I got back. So that threw off my schedule. That I didn't sleep much 2 nights ago, and then I slept a lot. I slept 8 whole hours, so that's not too bad. Today was one of those real short like days. It just seemed like there was no. I worked. I worked really hard all day, except for I didn't get anything done, and it was like really late. I don't know. Every day is weird. Let's see. Right. Face is different. Also chin. Face and chin. So I'm gonna need a better. The whole face looks faded out. I don't know if this picture just sucks. I'm gonna try a better one. That's not useful. One thing has been weird is the internet since last week. All those weird problems I was having like 2 weeks ago, and then they it seemed like it was something wrong with this computer, but then I went to work and that computer started having the problems. The same problem where it was having weird, like can't find the website repeatedly. Then it wouldn't find the internet, but the upstairs computer could find the internet. So I rebooted like a bunch of times, and that finally fixed it. So I don't know if like there's some kind of spy thing and it's screwing up my computer. People have actually been telling me that. I hadn't really thought of that, but like seriously, they've got nothing better to do. Okay, I don't know. It looks like her nose got bigger to me. I don't know if that's what recall vector, but she's got this like it looks like an anime nose. Her nose, yeah, okay. So what I remember before is she had a like a puffier face, like an angry Karen. Now she looks kind of severe, like a severe anime character, and her face looks really chiseled here. I'm going to look and see if I can see it from other angles, but it looks kind of unhuman now. She's got this long neck and this giant sharp nose. I'm not sure about the curl in her face. I'm not really seeing that yet. Sorry, I don't know if it's somewhere in here. I can't see it. Let me just put face because I'm going to try to find that one where the face was separate from the body. I thought she had like a pudgier face for a while. And I don't... that's not it. So your face looks very... So I kind of here it is. Does that face even match? I'm looking at that face, I'm looking at that face. Those two faces don't even look like the same face anymore. Okay, so the nose does look really wide on here. The mouth looks like a little baby mouth. Now you can't really... Okay, this is interesting. Okay. Let me open this one up. First of all, I do think there's some changes in this one. The eyes look strange. I don't remember them looking like this weird indented plates look. The top here was not like this. This is like unnatural sudden cutoff thing. It used to curve around, and this is supposed to be like a piece of the face. It wouldn't like suddenly have this cutout thing. It would be like the whole face all the way around, right? You're not going to cut it in the mid forehead and have like a big seam there. So it doesn't make any sense for this to be cut like that because you don't see that in the actual statue. Well, I guess you do though, because the hair comes down. Yeah. Okay, so this may be what Shari was talking about. I don't think the hair came down that far before. And that's what it is. Okay, I'm getting it put together now. This is probably not going to be big enough. Let's see. Oh, it's not bad. The hair comes down low now, so therefore this makes sense. Okay. A curl in the face. I'm still not sure what she meant by the curl in the face, but she might just mean the hair is low. This part here sticks out really far now. It's kind of like, I don't remember that. It's still just, I don't know. There's something about this one that I just don't feel like matches that one anymore. Does that look like the same face? Okay, I'm going to look at the lips, all downy. I guess so. Maybe because the color's different. Somehow it just... Here, the eyes you can't see. Here, they're very prominent. Okay, I'm looking at the nostrils. This one has to seem... It seems like it has a very wide, like, piggy nostril and a pushed in... Like, her face is pushed in. I don't really see that here. The nostril is not so piggy, and it doesn't look pushed in. There really is a different look on this. The eyes look washed out. These eyebrows, I think, have also changed. Suddenly, there's like this fake-looking painted-on eyebrows or something. There's something funky about these eyebrows, so I think that's also changed. You can kind of see it up here. I don't recognize exactly what's going on in here, but you can kind of tell it's not quite right. I'm also not sure what's going on here. I think this is supposed to be the ear, but it's just confusing me. So yeah, I don't know if that's what Recall Vector saw, but that is what I'm seeing. Let me know if there's anything else that I've missed that you want to chime in on with what Recall had to say. Okay, this one looks like a nice image here. Oh, it's tiny. Darn it. Maybe this one. Oh, how come it's all cut off? See, the eyebrows look strange. Kind of cheesy. This one doesn't match this one. That's weird because I clicked on a full photo image, but I only got the top half of the head there. Weirdly can't find many images of the straight-on face, and the ones that do are kind of either from below, all faded and washed out and out of focus, or okay, this one's in shadow. No head-on ones that I tried to, that one's from below. Here, maybe this one. This one's really tiny. Yeah, so this kind of follows the pattern. Whatever's changing right now, it's hard to find a really good image of it. This is like classic. I'm really starting to see this pattern now. And then the images you find will be either on the 10th page or it'll be, see, blurry and out of focus. The focus is more here. You can't see the face. The lips, look at the lips. Just, this face does look weird. The whole thing is getting washed out. I really think these hair things are going now. They're sticking out. Like little, they look like little rattlesnake rattles on the side of her head. I don't think that they were this, they didn't look like rattlesnake rattles. And they didn't stick down this far. There's something going on with this hair. All right, I'm gonna see what you guys have to say. Oh, he did one on JFK. That will take a little digging. Head into the fifth dimensionality. Could be. I think things are getting a little better for me. My health has improved. This eating of the saturated fat has helped a lot. Statue looks like Elvis. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not seeing it. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, though. All right, so Shari's put the video up for recall vector, I assume. Her mouth is, yeah, her mouth looks all pinched in, like, you know, she looked kind of like a crabby Karen, but she didn't have, you know, that pinched in mouth and the pinched in nose now that she didn't have before. And I agree, yes, the hair is different, Unimatrix, I agree on that. Okay, JT74 is talking about those pin curls. I do remember there being little pin curls around the ears for some time now, like a few years, but they were really subtle, and you only saw them from the side, and I don't remember seeing them from the front. So I think they're sticking out more. Ooh, somebody gave me money. I'm gonna scroll down in a minute and find it. Soon enough, we might be able to swim in the air. I think we're definitely going to get, physics is changing to give us more stuff, which is really cool. I always thought that we would learn things, to beat physics or to use it, but it really seems like physics itself is just making things easier, and now we can do these things, and always have been. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm kind of excited if we could breathe underwater. That would be really, like they came up with a device where you could just breathe, like not be all attached to tanks and have only 15 minutes and be near death if anything screws up and have to pay a fortune and stuff like that. That I kind of would be excited if we could do that. I do believe the air is thicker. Yes, that's why we got these bigger animals that can fly. Look at the right side of it. She looks French. Yeah, she looks more aristocratic, a little bit anime style, a little more haughty, and a little bit less spoiled bratty. I actually feel like it's a little bit more of a statue look, kind of, sleek sides and stuff. I suddenly get tired early afternoon. I have a 5 p.m. sleepy time that I've been battling for a long time. So Jennifer Silves gave me $1.99. Thank you very much. Not here often. Could you explain eyes more? Okay, so the thing with the eyes here was that we've just noticed since last time that the eyes are just kind of washed out, blank. They're not much detail. And it just kind of looks like it just looks blank. I don't know how to describe it. Now you don't see it in this one, weirdly, but we did notice that the last few times that it just, and also it wasn't just the Statue of Liberty, it also recently on the Sphinx as well. So that's what I'm referring to. Matrix 001 gave me 5. I think that was from before, but if not, thank you again. Something like Fritaria. Yep. Okay, I think I caught up. Let me go back down and see where I'm at. How's your diet? It's working well, yes. I actually am more tired now, but it's because I've been working really hard. And so I have to move my business because my current business location is getting converted to residential. So I've been told I have to move. And I did find a new location, and I got the keys on Monday. And I have to set up like a bajillion shelves in there, shelf systems. I don't know if you know what those boltless shelves are. And so I had a bunch of boltless shelves in storage, and I dug them out. And the new place is nicer. It's like an office because my old place was like more industrial with just hard floors and spider webs and rafters and stuff. The new place is like a nice office with nicely painted walls and a carpet that's all clean. And so I dug out all my extra shelves and I'm looking at them and I'm like, there's spider webs and there's scratches and there's scuffs and there's some rusty spots and and it looks awful. And I don't think it would look that bad in an industrial building, but now it looks like crap. So now I've decided I have to repaint all the shelves and I have to sand them and clean them all up. And then I got those Zac color spray paint that they normally are, and I'm spraying all of them. Not the wood parts, but all the metal parts. So that's going to take a bunch of days. But then they're going to look super shiny and nice in this nice office. And the shelves are like kind of light gray and the carpet is dark gray. So it'll look nice. So it'll be a lot nicer looking. It'll look almost office-y in there. I just heard about a tribe where they can hold their breath 10 minutes diving, and this is a recent development, but I don't remember where. Gosh, I thought there was even longer. I did a show on that a number of years ago that they could alter their eyes to see underwater too, which was really creepy. Statue's nose is more flat. Unimatrix gave me another $2. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Statue's nose is a lot more flat, feels low polygons, as in not enough detail. Yeah, with the flats, like those armor helmets. Yeah, it's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just kind of suddenly a little bit more stylized. Look at how wide it is and just goes straight down. So it doesn't look quite so human. It looks more stylized. And then the eyebrows, it's weird how it keeps changing. Yeah, so anyways, that's why I'm pooped, because I have to carry the heavy shelves, and I've been sanding for hours every day. Spray. I got to get all those shelves up, and then all my stuff moved out by the end of the month. So I will be very busy. And I still have to run my normal business. So yes, it's a good thing that the saturated fat, no PUFA diet is working really well, because I need all that energy. I hope your health, Shari, I hope your health improves. Yeah, a number of people I know have made a shift on their health lately. Not a monster shift, but it seems like, if you, I want to say, okay, I just figured out this diet and that's fixed it. But it does seem like you find the solution when you're ready to find it. Like maybe there's this really strong spiritual aspect to it where you've dealt with whatever your negative thoughts were, at least enough to make the shift. Anyone think eating meat could damn us? I don't think so, because Sophia, carnivore diet, if you look at my diet, it explains why carnivore diet would work, because carnivore diet usually involves a lot of beef and more saturated fat, and this is like the saturated fat diet. So you would not eat mayonnaise and grain oils and cake with a bunch of soybean oil in it and all that. You would be cutting out almost all your PUFA. You do get some from chicken and pork, but it's still going to be a lot better. So that might be why carnivore diet works. That's why I like this current diet, and I'm not saying I know for sure, but the current diet explains why every other diet that works, and why every diet that doesn't work, and explains the limitations of certain diets, like low carb. It does, like a lot of people with low carb will lose down to a certain point, but then they'll have additional problems. I don't even think about the shifts being exhausting, but I'm feeling like I'm in a horse race with the world shifting. what did I feel like lately? It's like it has felt weird this week. I'm trying out, but I'm moving and stuff. I don't know how to describe it. It was like, dang, I was just thinking of this earlier. Okay, check this picture of Lady Liberty. Like things seemed like I didn't seem in the world as much or something. Okay. Oh, I think I see what you mean. These little curls look a little different. I thought there was one that just went like this. Instead of those don't look like hair is kind of it. See, I can't make them any big. They don't really look like hair. I remember one coming through and going like that in front of the ear, but these ones seem to originate over here. Instead of originating up here and curling around, they don't, they're not natural. Let's see. Okay, I don't know if that what you were pointing at, but that's what I see. So I don't think eating meat will damn us because I think that humans and animals were put here with a taste for meat and an ability to digest meat and the need for vitamin Bs that are mostly just in meat. And so it was part of the system plan. Now we may be shifting away, like we may be shifting to a new system plan. And we may eventually not eat it, but we're not there yet. But I don't think you're going to be like damned for existing in the system plan. So the saturated fat diet, you actually don't have to eat a lot of meat. Some of the most saturated foods available are coconut oil and cocoa butter. So they're like super saturated. They have the short chain saturated fats, but they still count. The long chain saturated fats can't really exist all, just like a whole bunch of them because they would make such a hard fat that you couldn't digest it. And no plant or animal could exist with that hard a fat because, fat still has to have some liquidness to it. So you could eat like a lot of coconut oil basically and like chocolate. Chocolate's totally on the diet. The body is such a mystery, and it was so. That's the thing, Skyness. I think it's shifting. So you used to know. Like I feel like I used to have the user manual to the body figured out, and then it started changing. So that's been part of the dilemma. The black and white Liberty face looks like it has a much wider chin. Let's find that one again. Yeah, or I'm not sure it. So to me, this area looks more pinched in. Like it got smaller. It's like, and then that makes this area bigger. I remember more of the nose coming in and then pinching in more gradually and then coming out in a bit more of a natural look, like with more detail. It still looked like an angry Karen with a kind of pudgy face, but realistic looking. This doesn't really look as artistic. The eyes look creepy and like holographic or something. The eyebrows are unnatural looking, like painted on, like like if I took some felt and cut out an eyebrow shape and stuck it on there, that's what it looks like. These eyebrows don't look right. And then all of this area is like squished into one spot. I don't know. It just, so I think because then like this lip, it suddenly pinches in. Actually, this bottom lip doesn't even look like a lip. What the hell is that? That doesn't look right. It almost looks like a tongue instead of a lip. Let me just see the rest of this. All right, it looks better over there, but there's something weird about that bottom lip. It's big. Yes, there is something weird about that. That is not right. What is this? It's like the top lip hardly has any stuff to it, and the bottom lip is like a giant pouty. That's so wrong. I also really don't remember this thing in here on any previous image where it looks like there's a big shadow in the eye, like a black eye or something. See, does it all have that? It's kind of on that. We can't see from that side. This is interesting here too. I don't remember this part carved in. I don't remember the was that tear duct carved in the eye so prominently like that. And here, I don't know if I really recall the eyelash coming down far into the pinch. Yes, yes, that looks weird here. See how the eyelash comes down? See if I can get it. And here. So there was another statue I was looking at a while back that I thought was, oh, it was the that Native American dude statue. Chief Crazy Horse had that, and I was commenting on his weird. So what are we gonna get? Like the eyelash coming down real long now? I'm gonna have to look in the mirror and see if that's happening to me. Because it used to be that the eyelashes, they just start right here at the edge of the eye and then they go. They don't come like whoosh. She also has a really prominent lower lid in here. It makes her look all like weepy and stuff. You don't really see it on there though. I mean, maybe it's shadowing, but I just don't remember it looking like that. So this one, it looks like her eye or lower eyes are all puffied out, like she's got some swelling. That one doesn't look the same shape as that one. Then over here, you don't see that though. I don't know. It's almost like those two aren't the same face. This one really, it's close, but it doesn't look like the same one. I think too many carbs is damning us. Okay, so I did believe that for a long time, but then the saturated fat one, the theory is this, that too much PUFA, which is polyunsaturated fatty acids, is not good food for the mitochondria. The mitochondria then are feeling tired and starved, so they call for their number 2 favorite food, which is carbohydrates. Then you get carb cravings. You like sugar, you like carbs, because the mitochondria prefer saturated fat. If they can't get that, number 2 is carbohydrates. Give them saturated fat, really good diet of it, carb cravings go down. It took about 6 weeks for me to have that, but I now don't have strong carb cravings. And I can eat some carb and not crave like more and more and more carbs. Now, some people might have not the metabolic problems I had, and that's not such an issue for them, but it's working for me. I did not set out to drop my carbs. I've done that in the past, but on this diet I wasn't, but they've dropped because I just don't want them as much. And if you don't have a taste for it, you don't eat it. The lower lid is more stressed, yes. We should check the Genghis statue in Mongolia. I don't know if I even knew it before. So, I'm not saying, so the theory then with the carbohydrates is, it is fairly commonly accepted that if you drop insulin, then lipolysis improves, like fat leaves the fat cells. So that is still a theory that we hold that will help lose fat. And if you want to lose weight quickly, that will help you. However, you should still lose weight if you fix your metabolism, but you'll just do it more slowly. The other problem is if you lose weight fast, it's very hard on the body. So you might want to aim for a slower. Yeah, you won't have carb cravings on a carnivore diet or a low carb diet after a few days. But what I found when I did that is if you do ever cheat and eat some carb, the cravings come back really fast. And that's why I think the diet totally works, but it's just really hard to stay on it forever, because to just never eat carbs again is unlikely. And then you have to deal with that cravings again. Maybe you won't. I mean, I don't know if my experience will be the same, but it seems like most people eventually have that problem. Also, there might be nutrients you'll miss on carnivore long term, but I think if you stick with a lot of saturated fat source, and you could do like coconut oil, and that shouldn't mess up your carnivore diet at all. It's obviously not carnivore, but there's unlikely to be anything in coconut oil that causes a problem. Okay, so let me just check out. I'm going to close down a bunch of these. All right, delete. Put the G in there. Get rid of the period. So yeah, a lot of these diets I've gone through, not like super fatty ones, and the low carb one does work to lose weight, but I didn't feel better on it. I felt better at first, and looking back, it's probably because I ate a bunch of steak like the first week. But then I started switching over to like salad with ranch dressing and low carb stuff from the store. And I think it had a lot of artificial fats that weren't saturated in it. And after a few weeks, I was really tired. I would have these like, I'd be really tired in the middle of the day. I don't even know this statue, frankly. Like, this is the first time I've ever laid eyes on this statue. It looks like it's really big, too. Look at it. How old is this thing? I've never seen it before. Oh my gosh. Dang. It's huge. I can open it up. Is this a new one or what? I've never seen this thing before. I mean, frankly, it looks not unlike the Statue of Liberty. I'm gonna have to look that thing up. I don't know what this is. All right. Mongolia's Genghis Khan equestrian statue. All right, let's look at the wiki. Okay. Itself 33 feet tall. And I think the Statue of Liberty is only like 113 feet now by itself. Maybe 150 if you count the arm. But see, this thing is really long, so if you want to, it's not as high as the Statue of Liberty, but if you count actual volume with length and stuff, it's probably bulk-wise equivalent. What, there's no info on this thing? When was it built? It erected in 2008. Interesting. Okay. Now, I have never seen that thing before. It's going to be hard to track that because I think my brain is like full, like how many of these statues can I really keep my brain on? Any crazy animal stuff? I found a few. There's some coming up. Intermittent fasting works well. And saturated fat diet. In case you guys want to learn more about it, it's at Fire. This guy describes it well. Fireinabottle.net. I'm still going to plug him. He's not the only one who follows it, but he is a little better at explaining it. So this is his latest article that he writes. But it's still pretty scientific-y. You see all his articles there. But some of the other guys who explain it, they're even more hard to follow. It's kind of a nerd type of deal. So this diet describes why intermittent fasting works. And the basic concept is too much PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid, screws up mitochondrial signaling and balance. And I'm really, really, really simplifying it here. He'll go into the exact molecules and the exact mechanisms on his website. So basically, it puts you in a mode where you store fat and have little energy. Like your mitochondria don't burn much energy, and everything, any extra energy they get tends to shut straight into storage, and it's very hard to get it off of there. And it's basically like a hibernation kind of a state where you're listless, tired, and you store fat easily. And whenever creatures are in a torpor / hibernation state, the way you lose weight is not eating for a long time, fasting, and it drops the insulin level, and slowly the weight will come off. And interestingly, it looks like PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acids that are stored, are the first to come out. So those will continue to feed the torpor cycle, the first ones that come out. So then that's probably, we think, why you might be tired when you diet and metabolism drops, because when you stop with the carbs, then that's mitochondria food. And if you have all non-saturated fat stored, that's really weak food for mitochondria. So you may feel, in fact, it is well known that you will have a pretty hard drop in metabolism if you lose weight fast. You will probably experience some of that on low carb diet, unless you eat a lot of saturated fat, because saturated fat is the #1 mitochondria food. They love that. So then you're going to be cycling through what you eat, which is saturated fat, plus what you stored, which is probably PUFA. Because if you have weight to lose, you have probably stored a lot of PUFA. That is our theory. PUFA eaters get fat, is basically it. And you stored the PUFA. So you're going to have to burn that off, which is not very tasty to the mitochondria. But if you mix it with the saturated fat, and a carnivore diet's going to have a lot of that, so it should work. What do you mean them saying, okay, carbs are like starches and sugars, basically. The two of them combined. We think that starches are preferable, but sugar is also a mitochondrial food. When you're hungry, when you're flagging, when you're tired, you crave sugar. Sugar is the fastest food for mitochondria. But they burn through it fast. But if you're flagging, that's what kicks it up. But it's their secondary food. Their primary food should be saturated fat. That's our theory anyway. But like I said, he goes through the whole science of it, like molecule by molecule, going through the citric acid cycle, how the signaling is done in the mitochondria to store and not to store. And insulin levels are part of that, but they're just one little part of that story. Carnivore, no fruit, no grains, no sugar. Yeah, you will lose weight, but it depends on how healthy your metabolism was before. So people who have pretty healthy metabolism and not a lot of fat stored, you won't have as many problems. But we think carnivore works for that reason, because carnivore diet basically means you're getting a lot of saturated fat, probably, which is good for mitochondria. You cut out the carbs, that lowers insulin. When you lower insulin, it helps burn fat, definitely. But I would just say our version of that is target the saturated fat. That's going to be like beef. All of the animals with multiple stomachs that chew their cud, like beef and lamb and those foods, really target those, because chicken and pork are fed a lot of PUFA now in the current regime of things. So like 100 years ago, those would have been really good foods, but now they don't eat their natural foods, so not as much. The history of China changed, Great Wall of China, Mongolia's history. Yes, they're all changed, definitely. I'm not a big fan of cutting out any major type of food except chemicals. Yeah, so the saturated fat diet, you don't really cut out any type of food except for foods that didn't exist historically. So you cut out PUFA, and PUFA was just not, it was like 2% of your diet historically. There was no soybean oil. There was, your main source would have been fish, which is really mostly MUFA. It's mostly monosaturated. And nuts. Nuts are the only PUFA. And no, there's like very few tribes that eat like huge amounts of nuts. That would be the main one though, would be nuts. That's it. None of the wild animals have a high amount of PUFA, and fruits don't, and starches don't. So what you'll be cutting out is stuff that is new to the human diet. That would be all you would be cutting out, but not any specific thing. You would Fruits and vegetables are totally on the list. Starches, potatoes, that kind of stuff. Noodles are acceptable as long as they didn't make them with like soybean oil and stuff, but they usually don't. Bread would be okay if it's not made with soybean oil. Anyone remember the watermelon diet? Well, you can't survive on that. The watermelon diet is like basically water and a tiny bit of sugar diet. So anybody's going to lose weight on it. It's like fasting, really. Thoughts? Fruits were fiber and natural sugars and vitamins, not carbs. No, fruits are definitely carbs, and they have natural sugars, but they're carbs. Vitamins are not carbs, but carbohydrates are like, it's just any sugar or starch is a carbohydrate. Sugars just digest a little faster than starches. We also think that there's a little bit of a difference about how starches are processed by the mitochondria. Not, there's certain extra little things, but I'm not sure if it really matters that much or not. There's a lot of things where like we see there's a difference. Is it really a significant difference? Yeah, I don't know. Grapefruit diet was around. Yeah, it's the same thing. So basically that's a diet with a bunch of liquidy water and a little bit of vitamin and a little tiny bit of sugar. Tobacco invested heavily in food. That's who is producing food now. So basically, if you look at soybean oil, it's the cheapest oil to produce. It is absolutely super, super cheap. So that's probably why it's in everything. Well, whatever is cheap is what's used. And soybean oil is what's cheap. It's way cheaper. Palm oil is not bad, but the price has gone up a lot. And I've noticed a couple foods that I ate that had palm oil are now off the market. Like certain things that Walmart produced that had palm oil but no soybean oil, I haven't seen them in there in a month. So I don't know. They may not be producing those anymore. Because the price palm oil's gone way up. I like the uncommon lettuce now, no more romaine or iceberg. I just like the darker lettuces, but those are definitely on the diet. But you would not want to use normal dressing that's full of soybean oil. That would be the only thing. So oil and vinegar would be okay, or like you could make something out of spices plus buttermilk or something like that. Bread and butter would be okay as long as the bread is not made with PUFA. And, I personally don't do real great with wheat, so I don't do so much bread. Other people seem fine. Yeah, seed oils. But it's not just seed oils. It's all the PUFA oils, which is mostly seed oils. I had bad digestion, felt like food wasn't being digested, bloating up, self-diagnosed, could be weak stomach acids, so ate higher iron foods. So when you ate higher iron foods, what foods are those? Is that like beef? Because that'll have high saturated fat. See, it's like liver, high saturated fat. Fruits are carbs? Yes. Some are high fat, like avocado. Avocado would be one that we don't like to eat a lot of because of PUFA. I think it would be fine if all of our other foods were healthy and weren't full of seed oils. Then some occasional PUFA would be fine, but we think that it would be something you wouldn't want to go to town on right now. Not canola, cheapest. I believe that soybean and canola are pretty close in the cheap department, and they're both used a lot and they're both bad. It seems like soybean oil's been taking over lately, but I haven't tracked the exact global marketplace on those. So, if there's a PUFA food that's all natural and has a lot of nutrients in it, then we'd probably say just take it easy on that one, a little bit. And it really depends on how deranged your metabolism is too. If you're pretty healthy, then it shouldn't be a big deal. But if you've got serious issues, you probably want to be more strict until you straighten out your metabolism. We all have different digestive enzymes, so complex carbs get broken down in different ways. Yeah, it's tricky. So once I change my diet, like everything works better now. Digestion works better. So then your whole what is good and bad then changes too. Like it's amazing that the systemic changes that it makes. Soy because estrogen and allergy triggers. It could be. I don't really trust soy, but on the flip side, I don't know of any really specific research that would show that moderate intake would be a serious issue. I'm a little suspicious of it, but I don't have any smoking guns. I do think a lot of it with the exogenous estrogen, there's room for problems there, but canola is all GMO, but it's also all PUFA. So yes, there's a double negative there on that. So yeah, I don't know if you're on the saturated fat diet. Pasta is fine as long as it does not made with canola oil or any of that crap. I have to look in pasta. I don't do a lot of I don't do normal noodles because I just don't do that well with wheat, and there's so many wonderful rice noodles that and they taste great. So rice noodles is the story for me. Occasionally I'll eat bread because there's really no good rice bread, unfortunately. Pierogi, let's see. What's in pierogi? I think that's beef, isn't it? It's sausage. That's it. It's sausage. So sausage, we're a little distrustful of it because of the current quality in America. If you're in a country that still feeds their pigs a traditional way, it would be fine. See, saturated fat diet also explains low fat eaters can do great. If low fat eaters eat a whole bunch of starch and only a little bit of fat, but the fat they eat is saturated, they will be totally healthy. So like Chinese eating a whole bunch of rice, but their food industry as far as chickens, pork and stuff is still a little more traditional. That's changing now, but historically they were. So you don't have to eat a lot of fat. You just have to eat saturated fat when you do instead of PUFA. That's the theory. $5 from Jay Emblin. Appreciate it very much. Sunlight and water. Exercise definitely. Sunlight for the vitamin D in moderation so you don't burn. Water, exercise, always recommend. So here's the thing. When you feel healthy, you will want to exercise. It's more fun. And when you feel crappy, you won't. So if you can fix your metabolism, I think you'll find yourself out there doing more. So like, I think if 6 months ago I was forced to move and put these shelves up, I would have not decided that I need to sand down and paint them all because I just wouldn't have the energy because it's a hell of a lot of work. So I made more work for myself, but it will be worth it in the end when it looks all nice. So I've made myself a whole bunch of exercise for hours. It's amazing how tiring it is. I'm like, I've only been doing it 3 hours and I got to take a rest. All right. Where am I? All right, so Genghis Khan statue, if it changed or not, I have no idea. I have never seen it before. Okay, so now I want to talk about trompe. What the heck is a trompe? All right. This one kind of describes it. What is a trompe? So this is a little bit like those underground cooling systems that I was talking about before. So apparently in ancient times... I found this thanks to Sapioid. Thank you very much. They had a system where they could make compressed air. Like you thought you needed a compressor and all that for compressed air. Oh, no, not anymore. In ancient times, we had a somewhat natural system of making compressed air to run machines. Like 100 years ago, we had compressed air machines in the current timeline. It was called a trompe or trompe. I think it's trompe. And this is how it worked. So they would basically find a river that was going downstream pretty steep, like not really lazy. And the average of a 50-foot drop between where you suck in the water and where you push it back out. Because when you drop the water down, you can't get it all the way back up. So it needs to be, the new spot needs to be lower, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to divert water down, around, and back up. And this kind of reminds me of the thing I was talking about, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago, where like air gets sucked in more easily with like lower pressure and stuff than I think might have been the case before. But basically, they put in this tube to like have water drop in, but they put these air holes all on the top of the tube. So as the water drops into this pipe, like it causes a low pressure system which sucks air in from these air holes. So the air gets pulled in with the water. So these little, let me open this up more here. These little yellow spots are the air. They represent the air. And they're pulled in with the water. And then down here, I don't exactly understand how this works, but there's like a little triangle thingy here that separates the air from the water. So the water goes its merry way on the bottom, and the air gets escapes to the higher area, and then it continues to flow. The water continues to flow, and the water then is, this pushing down here creates a pressure gradient that pushes against all this, and then it's enough to push the water back up, but it won't go up as high as it once was, and that's why you have to have like a drop of about 50 feet here. So the water is then separated back out and pushed back into a later part of the river and continues on its merry way. So you don't actually damage much here. As long as you have a good grading system up here, then not much wildlife will get pulled in. Some air gets, so then the air comes here and the air naturally rises. That's the yellow part. And then there's a little bubble here, and at the top of the bubble area, there is a tube. So then the air, and this is pretty high to make sure no water gets in there, is with the same pressure from this falling stuff, is pushed up this way along a tube. And you can have this go anywhere you want, this air. You know, you can have it to the side of the river, downriver. So, you know, it could be off wherever you have your building and you need compressed air, that's where this goes. And then, so then old mines would use this to run mining equipment. They would run them off of compressed air if there was a river nearby. And the more water you have and the more depth, they said the depth is the thing that causes the most compression and the most pressure. So the more depth you have, so if this goes like 100 feet down, I think you had like 50 to 60 PSI, pounds per square inch, air pressure created. And there's also additional things because apparently when you compress air, it gets hot. But when it's compressed in this way, mixed with the water soaks up that heat. So this compressed air is cool. It is not hot, unlike normal compressed air. And somehow the water also, apparently when you compress air also, it becomes humid. But with this system, the humidity gets mixed in with the water. So you end up with cool, dry, compressed air, which is different than our current artificial systems. And so you have cool, dry, compressed air. And this also can be run through things to cool down rooms up at the top, and asked as a natural air conditioner, as well as creating the compressed air. So double whammy there of benefit if it's hot. Anyway, so this is a trompe. I've never heard of these before. They're very cool. I think if I jump forward, did it have, it goes through the parts, I think. I don't know if I can get it to actually show. I think if I recall, the music was horrible. So it shows the parts here. Water and air bubbles enter. The air bubbles are compressed by water as they travel down. The water absorbs any heat in the air bubbles, and this compressed air is called isothermal air. The compressed air rises to the top, and the water floods the chamber. Move my water bottle. When the compressed air reaches the chamber dome, it collects in the dome. That would be right here. They're going to show that part. Water minus the compressed air then makes its way up a pipe and reconnects to the river. Compressed air in the dome is released and makes its way up this way. Here's the yellow to the compressed air storage area known as CAES. Oh, I forgot the other thing. So they do have a thing eventually, if you're not running your compressed air all the time, the compression will back up and it'll be hard for the water to fall. So what they have down here is a little blow-off pipe. If the compression gets to a certain point, it'll start blowing air and I think water and stuff up this tube, and it'll so that it can keep the system kind of going without too much pressure built up. So if you're down here using the compressed air, that won't happen. But if you just shut it off for the night, then the extra can blow out the top here. Let's see. Compressed air can travel large distances without losing much of its air pressure. Also, there's no moving parts in here, and they say that it takes very little maintenance. As the air pressure builds, this yellow, it pushes the water level lower. Okay, yeah, that's what I remember. Okay, and then the water level gets low, and at some point the air reaches this secondary tube and will blow off up here. Aha, and that allows the water to continue flowing. That's what it was. That's what they needed. They needed the water to continue its path. So if too much air gets in here, it'll blow out the top. That's what it was. When the water and compressed air go below the bottom of the relief pipe, the water and air are shot up the pipe and blown off. So it's called the relief pipe. So we now have working tromps that were left over from 100 years ago that still operate to this day at a couple mines in the USA. I've never heard of this, but that's the current reality. So the blowing off will occur every few minutes if you don't use the compressed air on the other end. Its simplicity and no moving parts make it an ideal solution to providing compressed air. And as I said, Sapio was mentioning that it also, they have incorporating AC systems with it. The length of the trompe pipe, which I believe is here, determines the PSI of the air. Every 25-foot drop produces 12 to 14 PSI. Thus, a trompe pipe of 100 feet should produce 40 to 50 PSI. Very interesting. Which is pretty darn good because it's continuous and free and can last decades and decades. The drop in the river can be anywhere from 10 feet and above, but normal drop would be about 50 feet. I think they mean from here to here. Now, I've definitely seen them have it like from behind a dam too, because the dam tends to have a lot of real heavy water up here pushing down, and then they would spit it out downriver. All right, and that's the end of the show. So cool. Wouldn't it be great to have that? You'd have endless AC and compressed air whenever you wanted it. And those of us that use compressed air are like, score. You wouldn't have to run electricity. I mean, you would never be, especially in hot regions. Can you imagine? I mean, some places it's not so needed, but if you lived in a really hot area, you had endless air conditioning. Man, you guys are doing a lot of talking. I'm like way behind. Don't eat, have some air, walk about, maybe have some pierogi and bib lettuce salad. As long as you have saturated fat on your salad. I swear we're in like opposite land. Last week when I was talking about how we're not on molten lava anymore and we're on water, and somebody I was chatting with the other day mentioned that they saw that it was ices they called them. We were laughing because instead of ice, it's ices. I'm like, we have more than one kind, ices, under in that watery area in the mantle under the crust. And so I made this joke that I'm like, okay, so we used to have magma, now we have ice. Does this mean that hell is freezing over? Because you know how they always say that's not going to happen until hell freezes over. So they, historically say that underneath, in the infernos of hell is down. So hell is freezing over. It's turning to ice. So anything can happen if hell freezes over. That's the story, right? Anything. So hell freezes over, then saturated fat can be healthy. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. There was an author in the UK called Mrs. Beaton who did cookery books for people with little money. It's now Beaton with two E's. I'll take your word for it because I do not know that one. Dyke's Trench. I don't know what Dyke's Trench is. I am going to get to the zebras. It's not a huge one, but I needed a good image for the show, so air comes out of it because it's lighting. Yeah, so air tends to separate to the top, right? And then they put the escape lever there if the air builds up too much, because if the air builds up too much, it'll start blocking the water flow, and they want to keep the water flow. I'm not sure what would happen if the water stopped, though. I mean, would it be a big deal? I don't know. Maybe too much pressure would be hard on the system. Okay, Mandanimal remembers Mrs. Beaton with the EA. Yeah, so like people who use equipment, like one of the issues is that compressed air, it was hot and moist. Moisture is bad for equipment. So dry compressed air would be a good thing for equipment. Moisture causes rust and that kind of thing. So reaching bandwidth threshold. I don't know. I'm always reaching bandwidth threshold. So I don't know. Actually, my computer's working good. Knock on wood. Somewhere now, bees are legally fish. No, I know. I saw that. So apparently, California had some kind of environmental rule that was passed that involved certain animals could get protection, and it was like fish, amphibians, mammals, reptiles. Well, what was not on there was insects. I think it's because they didn't want to have there was probably dispute about every ant, and there's millions of insects, and you could never do anything if you got overly protective of every insect kind on the planet. So they didn't include insects, but then they wanted to somehow get bees on the list. And so they go, why don't we call them fish? Because fish were on the list. And there was a bunch of lawsuits, and apparently they managed to get some court to agree that they could count as fish, which is just like ridiculous. I mean, just pass a new bill that includes freaking bees. I mean, this is just ridiculous. The end of Star Trek Voyager was completely different in my past. Dang, I don't think I remember what the end is. I'm sure if you remind me, I'll remember, but... So steam engines didn't rust, or when you keep feeding your cylinders with moist air, the moist... you want your cylinders lubricated by oil, not water. Water is just hard on stuff. So steam engines, they know that they're dealing with steam, so they keep the steam in certain places, and not running through the whole machine. But it's just hard on. It's a lot better if you can run stuff on dry air. And you can't keep bees. What do you mean you can't keep bees anymore in California? You can't keep bees in California? Are you? No, that can't be right. Now I haven't. I think I would have heard about that, wouldn't I have? They have zoning laws for those, but that's not new. You don't want a beehive like right next to your house if the neighbors. Yeah, see, California court rules bees are now fish. Only when it comes to this one environmental law, though. All right, can you keep bees in your backyard in California? So they have like rules where they can't be too close to the neighbor. You have to provide water. I mean, there's regulations, and there's a limit on how many hives you can have. No, I don't see anything about there being. They have regulations. That's been the case. That makes sense. Okay, if you have a tiny little yard and you get bees and you don't provide water, then they all go in your neighbor's swimming pool because they're thirsty. And bees will have like their tracks that they shoot out of, and also sometimes they get Africanized. So they make you have it like away from the neighbors, basically. They just scroll text that explained it took 70 years, but Captain Janeway crew finally made it here. I'm pretty sure I remember her getting back to this galaxy, Janeway, in the end. I do remember that. Bad puns. Okay. All right, so there's Trump. That's another one. So this one shows it a little different. Um, they had the blow off valve here is this red one. This one has it behind a reservoir. You could have it behind a reservoir and have a dry spot, and then have it come out lower and start a river too. It really doesn't have to be a river the whole way. You could start the river down here. So you could funnel it off of a reservoir. But this is the same Trump concept. Okay, they're calling it Taylor compressor condensed elevation view. Interesting. Okay, but it is a Taylor compressor. It is a Trump, though. Okay, and that's the one we already saw. Now they defeat the Borg. I thought they defeated the Borg, though. Dang it. No, you know what? I don't I don't remember them totally defeating the Borg. They set them a nasty setback, but it wasn't Janeway, it was Picard. They got them, the individuality thing got them, but I don't remember them being totally destroyed. But they got rid of a bunch of them, or they screwed them all up with the individuality issue. Wouldn't the compressor cause Legionnaire disease? So Legionnaire disease only accumulates and gets going in stagnant standing water. When it's flowing water, this would be just like a river. It would just continue flowing on and on and on. So there shouldn't be any problems in there that you wouldn't find in any underground flowing river. And as far as I know, there's no special ones. Yeah, so I don't remember them totally defeating the Borg, but there was that issue where they infected them with the concept of individuality, and some of the Borg cubes broke up. Trish R, it's called a trompe, Trompe. You can look it up. It's a a natural system for creating compressed air and air conditioning using underground water flow. Old Janeway gets virus and then gets assimilated. Queen dies. Really? I don't remember that at all. Janeway gets virus and gets assimilated. I do not remember Janeway getting assimilated. Seriously? Not Janeway. I do remember Picard got assimilated for a little while and then he was busted back out and unassimilated. That's interesting. But yeah, that one was not in my reality. In new Star Trek, Uhura is working with Kirk's father. Okay, I'm not sure on that one. I remember the movie Naked Gun, not The Naked Gun. Yes, I agree. It was Naked Gun with no the. No, Janeway did not get simulated. I think they meant assimilated. At least not in my time. I don't remember that happening. Who the heck knows, though? I mean, there has been that change where, what's his name didn't die. It was, what's that guy's name again? The guy with the tattoo, the Native American dude. He died in the old timeline. And then he suddenly didn't ever die. Okay, this one is an interesting one because we've been talking about it. Look at this. I've only got I might not get through all of these. All right, some of them aren't that interesting. I'm going to start with this one. This one is kind of interesting. The man who found... Here. Okay, life on Mars. You knew it was coming. All right, so I'm not going to play it all because copyrights and all that. Although I'm not sure if they're really copywriting this one. But basically, if you go to mission, and most of us don't really remember in 1976 it being successful then. A lot of us, I certainly don't remember in 1976 them having successfully landed on Mars and collecting soil samples and stuff. But in this timeline, that did happen. And the storyline that this guy says is he was a scientist working on this project. And as far as I can tell, it's legit. It's kind of hard to verify too much of it, but nobody's disputing that this guy was really there doing this. Some old dude, sounds totally legit. He's not doing the whole conspiracy theory thing. Basically, he's saying, look, this is what we did. We dug up soil samples and we did on Martian soil, and did these following experiments where we added nutrients to the soil and looked for signs of biological activity, and we did find them. We did not expect to find them, but we did find them. So then he said, okay, so then we wanted to see if it was biological activity or some kind of weird chemical activity. So he took nutrients and he put radioactive markers in the nutrients, and he put that into the soil sample, and then he looked for evidence of some kind of respiration of the nutrients, and he did find it. And he says that's very strong evidence of some kind of biological activity. And then he goes through some of the naysayers, well, maybe it's this, and maybe it's this, and then he did experiments to debunk each one of the alternate theories other than biological activity. And this is in this, the 70s, supposedly all this happened. And he basically makes a really strong case that, yes, we found evidence, very, very, very strong evidence of biological life in the Martian soil way back then. But NASA just, his story is so weird because he says NASA basically said that if we admit there's life, that controversy would set back popularity of the Martian program, which makes zero sense to me, because to me that would be the opposite. If there was actually life there, then wouldn't we be excited to go there and study it? I don't know anybody who would say, nah, let's not go there if there's, and they're just talking about microbes, okay? They're not talking about, giant pterodactyls or something. So I don't get it at all. It doesn't make it doesn't pass the sniff test. But the story itself sounds very, very plausible, and we have been totally expecting them to ping on Martian life. We've got water there. We have ice. They've already said that they've, in the recent years, found weird patterns of darkness and lightness that could theoretically correspond to some kind of plant or biological growth that's seasonal, but maybe not, right? But this guy, so I really feel like this is like another big fat step. Basically, it really sounds exactly like they found life in 1970s and didn't want to admit it. If you watch this guy, then you'll be like, so then basically all we're waiting for is now this information of this old dude and this video to become disseminated further. And if this was to happen, that would be the step of saying that there's biological life on Mars, basically. So I think we're there. The Matrix, whatever it is admitting there's life on Mars right now. We've been waiting for it. It's strange to think they had freezers in hot summers and temperate climates or warmer before fridges and freezers became a thing. Yeah. So I used to be told that they would dry stuff and you would keep it underground so it wouldn't get too hot. And then in certain areas, there's deep underground caves that had ice a lot of the season, or they would cook it into something that was like if you saturated fat actually doesn't go bad at room temperature. So if you had a highly saturated like tallow, you could make a tallow like beef jerky and stuff, and it doesn't go bad. Saturated fat is really neat that way. But they didn't have refrigerators in 100 years ago for me. Or maybe, well, at least, beyond 100 years ago. Icebox refrigerators used a large ice block to keep the food cool in your fridge. Okay, yeah, you could make ice but they had like compressors and stuff. So, to make the ice, and you'd buy the ice. So the ice house, I've said before, the ice house keeps changing here. We have this really old historical building. It's one of the oldest buildings in the city, and it's called the ice house. And it was where they used to store ice, make and store ice for use in the region. Of course, now you just have ice makers in your refrigerator. But that ice house used to be huge and tall, and really tall, and it's gotten like the levels, it's dropped. It's only like 1.5 stories tall now. It's gotten a little wider. That ice house has shifted to the outskirts of the town. It's been freaking me out because I always kind of dreamed of buying that, and it had this big tall ceiling in it back then. And you could play pickleball or basketball in there, and it was like really cheap. So I was like, that would be a great building to buy for like a few $100,000. You could run your business out of it, put in a pickleball court in the corner. But now it's low. I think it's too low to have pickleball in it now. Anyway, keep an eye on your ice house and see if it's changed any. All right, ice house. So yes, I think now this is basically the next step in admitting or saying, I don't want to say admitting that I don't think it was there before. We didn't have water there. We didn't have ice caps there, but now we do. So this is the next phase of saying that there's life on Mars. Whatever Mars is or isn't, I don't even know. Okay, so that was found by this person I sometimes correspond with online named PJ. She can go by that name, PJ. And this next one was found by PJ also. Almost all of my stuff this week is from other people. You guys or some other people I know. There's only a few I found, and I don't even know if I'm going to get to them. Okay, so I've covered the different lobsters. There's purple ones, blue ones, red ones, and one split down the middle with one color on one side and another color on another side. Well, we now have like these rainbow lobsters, and they're not rare or anything. They're called Panuliris ornatus because they're ornate. And they have all these colors on the main shell. Let's see if this one will load. So you have the blue, pink, purple, and then the side legs are like white and black. Look, there's yellow in here. There's every color on this freaking thing. And then if that wasn't enough, they got skittery, creepy, spider, white and black legs. Like, this is a good way to get eaten. They're not poisonous or anything. In fact, they're common. They are so common that they farm these and eat them. They're pretty big, too. See if I can find an image. Oh, here's somebody grabbing one. Let's see, there's plenty of yellow on there. There's every freaking color. Look at that thing. I would not be surprised if it gets even more crazy as we go down the line, too. Some of them show it pretty bright and some don't. This one looks a little different than the other one. That's supposed to be an invasive species. I think that's a different guy, though. Anyway, so these are highly edible and they are farmed. They're all over the place. On I Square, we did not have a common, not to mention uncommon, rainbow-colored lobster in recent many times I've looked. It has a wide geographical range in the Indo-Pacific, from the Red Sea and KwaZulu-Natal in the west to Japan and Fiji in the east. Found at shallow depths, typically no deeper than 50 meters in most parts of its range. The lobster is netted or speared, while in northeast Australia, a commercial fishery has existed since 1966, and the harvesting of the species is regulated by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. The species now also occurs in the Mediterranean, having invaded as a Lesepsian migrant through the Suez Canal. Lesepsian migrant. What the heck is that? The Lesepsian migration is the migration of marine species across the Suez Canal, usually from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea and more rarely in the opposite direction. When the canal was completed in 1869, fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and other marine animals, blah, 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 I assume they're going to say migrated. Okay, so blame it on the Suez Canal. The little bastards are sneaking around. But it's okay because they're tasty. Our ice house changed this past year. Really? What changes did it get? What's a pickleball? It's a game. Pickleball. It's a game that I like to play. There's the outdoor sport version. It's kind of popular with old people, but there's young people who play it. I'm kind of old, but not old. So there they are. It's played on the proximate size of a badminton court. You play it with a paddle and something that is similar to a wiffle ball. These guys are playing singles. Singles is really hard. And it's fast moving, and you can play it effectively as a newbie, but it's not that easy to play well. So it's fun that way because you can have fun from the start, but at the same time, there's a lot to learn. Has anyone found tips particularly useful for shifting? Like to shift more? try to figure out what you really want in life and think a lot about having it and how it would be. As far as, I imagine being healthier, blah, blah. Try not to have too many doubts, or imagine having more income, whatever. It'd be relaxing, it'd be nice. Don't be picky about how it happens. Just say, okay, in a good way. So that's good. Physical symptoms, magnesium seems to help. Healthy diet. Those are the two I've heard the most common. Yeah, there's something weird about those pyramids. They have a weird interior system. Some people say it's a ram pump. A chemical reactor seems to be a common possibility there. There's a lot of indications that might have been some kind of chemical reactor, the original pyramids. Lobsters always changing. Yep. Yeah, they have lobsters at the Chinese buffet I go to, and those things I've had them on before. They've changed. It's the same lobster, but they slowly change. Oh, I am buffering. I don't know. There's not much I can do, so fingers crossed it goes away. Sorry. It's getting something though. I wonder if that's a YouTube problem because my computer and my internet seem fine today. Okay, so let's cover the zebras because I already have that on there. Zebra. I may have had this on before, but I'm just finding I've only found like one or two last time. So zebras, apparently you could ride them and you can use them for carriages now. And there's a lot of examples of them having used them for carriages. So now they're saying there's three kinds of zebra, not just one. I think I had that on. And one of them might be good. Like, it seems like one of them has been found to be pretty sweet-tempered and tolerant. And like one of the other ones is a crab apple and a half and hard to ride. But now that I'm looking up these, there's like all these images of like that. I think this one was just kind of joking, but this dude riding a zebra. There's a bunch of carriage pictures. There's pictures of some lady in her fancy clothing riding a zebra. So they were saying that the Burchell zebra, which is a subspecies of I believe it's the mountain zebra, Equus quagga. Burchell zebra, there was some people historically saying that they made a great, really nice riding animals, and they were sweet-tempered and stuff. Just looking at this because I can't figure out what the hell it is. Open a new tab. What's on the top of his head? See, I'm looking at that. What is this? What is this? Is that some kind of donkey? But what is this tufty thing on his head? Does anybody know what that is? I just stumbled on it. I haven't... That's weird. I don't know what that is. So I type in zebra. I get this animal with this ponky thing on his head. So yeah, what is that? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like a zebra, but what's on its head? They're going to grow giant knots. Now, I've said before, for me, zebras used to be zebra body pattern, but the tail and the mane were black. They weren't additionally striped like they are now. But we have three kinds, and they all have some version of some striping on the mane. That was an old Mandela, though, back in the day. So cool. And let me know what that thing is, the zebra hawk. Dogs' heads have a bump up top. And I think that's really grown a lot, too, the dog head bump. But it's not like that big a bump. And coyote skulls have been growing that. So I sell coyote skulls. So I've been watching them change over like the course of 10 years. And so what happened is I got in a few skulls with a little bit of a ridge on the top. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's a really old geezer coyote grew a little ridge. But they all have that now. Over time, every last one I got in. Young coyotes, old coyotes. They all have that big ridge. Liquefaction in borium is interesting. It sinks ships. Liquefaction in borium sinks ships. All right, I'm kind of pickleball is a new sport. Mandanimal says it's gotten suddenly extremely popular, but it is actually from the 60s, I believe. Eva's voice is way ahead of the video. Well, I don't know what to do about that. Sorry. Yeah, stop thinking buffering. I'm going to blame it on you. All right. I wonder if I stop it. That's really irritating. I know, you're going to be so bugged. Did it get fixed or is it still messed up? I wonder if I stop the stream for a bit and then I'm going to try that. I'm going to stop at the stream and then start it again. See if that fixes it. Stop streaming. So I'll be back. And it should go on this same stream because I'm not stopping the stream on YouTube. Okay, I'm starting streaming again. I'm hoping that fixes it. I have no idea if that'll actually fix it, because I don't really know if that's a problem. Okay, yeah, try refreshing the page. So after I stopped the stream and started it, it's still all messed up? Okay, some people are saying it's fine, so try reloading it. Coyote skulls. Okay, hold on, I'll show you one. I'll be right back. I've had this one on before. Let's see. Make sure you can see it. Okay, so this one I had on before, and it has, let me see if you can really see it. So it's this ridge here that has added. Now, I have carved on this one, so it has like these bumps, but they normally would be smooth. They wouldn't be like notched like that. So the reason I have this one still is because long ago I carved on it with some kind of plan to widen the eye holes, because coyote skulls, like human skulls, used to have eye holes. And the eye holes were in here, and then I had widened them by carving. It didn't really come out as good as I wanted, so I never really got around to taking photos and putting it up, because I just was like, it didn't really look good. But over time, the eye holes in coyotes disappeared. So when I realized that there was something funky and they're missing their eye holes, I went and I dug this out, because I knew that I had expanded the eye holes at this old one. And now it looks like I just gouged into the side of the face for like no reason, and it looks totally freaking ridiculous. So I still did the same thing in this timeline, but it just, there would be no reason for me to do this. It's stupid. Well, I just saw something else interesting too. Interesting. This is different. So I don't know if you can see it, but right in here, I've been seeing this on the coyote skulls lately. There's like right where this finger is, there's like, I don't even know what this is, but basically in here, the sinus area on some of the coyotes has what looks like a damage, like somebody pinched them really hard. And at first I thought it's just one coyote and it has it got poked or something, but I've seen it on multiple of the skulls now, and there's no other damage on the skull except for that. So I don't know if it's something that's developing where there's going to be an air hole in there, a weakness or what. But last time I pulled the skull out, that was not on there. So it's definitely developing. I'm kind of looking to see what else I see on here now. See, like there's a tiny little hole right there too. I don't know if you can see that one. So when I want to carve on this skull, I picked a pretty good one because I don't want to put in a bunch of work carving and then have it, you know, if I'm going to put work into it, I'm going to use a good piece. And so it's interesting to look at it now and see certain defects that weren't there before. Definitely weren't there before. Okay, so there you go. So yes, it's this line that has been developing, and it's a lot more developed on some of them. Kind of more on the back of the head, really, but and it just wasn't there. So what other things? These things have gotten big. These were just so tiny before. And then they have these little weird lip things on them. I don't remember that originally. Let's see what else has changed. The teeth have really changed. They had more molars before. Back here, the molars were flat molars. They're getting, I guess, more carnivorous. So some of the molars disappeared. Oh, this is not. Let's see if you can see it. Unfortunately, it's getting kind of washed out. But if you look back here, these used to be all flat molars, but now they're like they're sharp on one end and flat on the inside. I don't know if you can kind of see it, but yeah, you can see it there. Let's see if I come around this side. So right here, they stick out a lot, but back on this side, they're flat. So they're like a half molar, half fang, and that didn't used to exist. They just had all of these back ones. I believe there were at least three flat molars back here. And one of the reasons I really noticed that, and they didn't have this funky is the word I'm trying to say, believe it or not, cave-in spot. So when I sell these, I sometimes make them into lamps, and one thing I do is I glue the parts together because it's supposed to be a lamp, so I would just use some, you know, not really fancy glue, and I would glue right here at the hinge, and the other place I glue was I'd put glue on the molars so that the molars would snap down and glue tight. But it's getting hard to do that now because this molar is gone now. There's no more, it's just sharp. It's like a mountain range. And then these two molars are only half a molar, so there's not a lot of glue areas. I'm like, are they going to get rid of all the molars? How am I going to glue these things? It still kind of works, but I now ship them with a rubber band around the snout to kind of add additional grip power. And nobody seems to mind that they're not really tightly tied together, so I guess it's fine. I mean, that's kind of like the litmus test is no complaints from customers and good reviews means it's acceptable. All right, so there it is, coyote skull. And obviously, just in case anybody's wondering, I did other alterations. Coyotes don't usually have teeth coming out of the side. This was like a weird art piece I was working on, but it just didn't come out good. Mostly, I just didn't like that the eye hole thing didn't come out. But secondarily, it was a lot of work, and I was like, I'm not doing it again. All right. Yeah, so how do I make lamps? I will drill out the back, and I have like a big drill that just drills the hole out here. Make sure you can still see it again. I can expand this actually, then you can see it better. That would be the smart thing. Oh, here, I'll show you again. Okay, so then you can see a little bit better the kind of disappearing molars there. And this is I took the bottom jaw off, but So this part here, I expanded out to fit a snap-in light bulb, like a night light bulb that has a snap-in socket. So I expand this hole out, I drill it out, and then the socket with a night light bulb snaps right in there, and then it has a plug. And then I glue the bottom jaw on, and that's it. It's pretty easy. Just drill that hole, snap in there, and then it has a cord, and you just plug it in. So I like selling these because they're pretty easy to make. I never get any complaints. Everybody's always happy. Let's see if I can get this smaller again. Doink. I think that's good. Nightlight for the kids. So, you know, it's young boys like it, and then like teens like it, and then I sell them for Halloween. So somebody actually thought of that for me. I had some skulls or something that I had been selling, and somebody said, you should make a lamp out of it. I'm like, what? So I tried it, and they sell fairly decently. So it just glows really neat from the inside, which is cool. So I used to, in the eye sockets that used to exist, I would sometimes wire in giant crystals so that when the light came through, it would shoot through these crystals. They weren't real expensive crystals, like I just used cut glass or something, but you can't do that anymore because there's no sockets. So how did I even do that from the... So light doesn't really come out of the eyes because there's no eye hole now, but it used to. The light used to come out of the eyes, but now it just glows in the cavity. So it's like a glowing balloon thing, but the balloon is the cavity of the... And some of it kind of, you can see the patterning of where there's more and less bone. So yeah, it is a little macabre, but it sells. And, you know, frankly, in the beginning, I didn't have much money, and it was like, if somebody came up with an idea that was unique and might sell, I was going to do it. And it did sell, and it saved my bacon, especially if it was some idea that didn't involve much more investment, because I already had the skulls and I already had the snap-ins. Yeah, see, it didn't used to be possible to break zebras because they would just jump and throw you off and hate you forever. But apparently now that's not the case. No one died in the Hindenburg Zeppelin. Are you serious? Nuh-uh. That's wrong. I only got 4 minutes left. I guess it's going to be a short. All right. 4 minutes. Let me see if there's anything I really want to do besides that. Zebra carriage. Well, I got most of this stuff. Okay. I'll just do the rest next week. None of them are super exciting. Who died in Hindenburg? The last survivor of the Hindenburg disaster, which killed 36 people. No, there's still dead people. Unless you mean in your timeline, but it looks like in this one, there's still a bunch of dead people. I don't remember exact number, but... I did think it was more than 36, though. I thought it was like 100 and something people originally, frankly. Like, not everyone died. Yeah, but now they're saying... How many are they saying died? I thought it was like 113 and a few... Some survived. The accident caused 35 fatalities from the 97 people on board. And an additional fatality on the ground. I don't remember there being any fatalities on the ground. Okay, interesting. I remember more people dying. It was over 100. But I also don't remember them being next to... You know, that's changed a lot there, too. This thing... So that was like a tiny little tower that it looked like it was just near... but now it's a whole fancy... So originally there was no tower. Then there was the little thin tower. Now there's this huge behemoth of a tower. That's a whole fancy thing. I think it's now docking at the tower. They used to just... It landed on the ground and people would get off on these little, like, I don't know, step things or something. But I think it now docks at the tower. That's a different thing. But yeah, that tower has changed a lot. A lot. Oh, some people, you remember all died. That's interesting. Maybe way back. I really can't remember back like 30 years ago. I remember a lot died though. Yeah, so the tower at Buba has changed since last I looked at this thing. That was actually a question I had last time because there was this tower, but they did not really say what it was there for. And it was just a lookout tower? Was the Hindenburg docking at the tower? It just wasn't mentioned. So, let's see. During its attempt to dock with its mooring mast or mooring tower. Okay, so now it does dock with the tower. All right, it definitely they used to land and they would come out the sides before. They did not dock on a mooring tower. Contains a fitting on its top that allows for the bow of the airship to attach to a mooring line to the structure. So that's something different. They just used to just land. So this is kind of a Tartaria style because now they're saying that the tops of buildings were airship docking stations. So like all these super tall buildings now supposedly were docking stations, and they're starting to show up that there are areas where you could clearly see steps for people to come down from the docking of the airship. And that wasn't the case when I was a kid. They just landed on the ground. I remember there being a few survivors, but majority on board dying. Yeah, that's what I have in my head. Over 100 died, a couple survived, but it wasn't, most of them ate it. We are seeing more airships, though, I think, definitely. But, the air now is more buoyant, and these things are more doable. Yeah, where did the tower come from? I know. Okay, 2 to 3 years ago, I saw a photo of a newspaper showing Hindenburg had no deaths. I think it's really slippery, this one. Very shifty. They dock on the nose on the huge mast. It wasn't that way before, though. Ancient Indian Lakori bricks are 1/2 and 1/4 of thickness of normal bricks, and you use with mortar with quicklime, sugar cane, and apple fruit pulp. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have time to check that one, though. Maybe put it in the comments, and then I'll check it again. Africa, they made bricks. Well, you can make bricks with mud, but will they last? There's the question. Okay, anyway, it's 2:01, so I've got to go. And my other ones I will do next week, and I'll have a jump on that. So thank you, guys. Most of my stuff came from you and other friends of mine this week, so very much appreciated. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.